Hillary Clinton and Democrats support Israel's right to defend itself, while some proponents of the boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement may hope that pressuring Israel will lead to peace. The truth is, outside forces will not resolve the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Particularly when anti-Semitism is rising throughout the world, Democrats must condemn efforts to isolate and delegitimize Israel.
I think both of us can agree that a precious Palestinian baby has exactly the same value as a precious Jewish baby in Tel Aviv. A commitment to security for precious Jewish brothers and sisters in Israel can never be predicated on an occupation of precious Palestinians. If we're concerned about security, it seems to me, we're going to have to talk seriously about occupation. Now, I don't know whether you would allow the use of that word. You know, New York Times said we got to put it in inverted commas. You know what I mean? No, occupation is real, it's concrete. But at the same time, how do we acknowledge Jewish people, 2,000 years, hated, haunted, vicious contempt, pogroms, Shoah, and so forth? Preoccupation with security, understandable. Palestinians, made in the image of God like anybody else, wrestling with occupation for 50-some years, demeaned, devalued, dominated, exploited. For too long, the Democratic Party has been beholden to AIPAC, that didn't take seriously the humanity of Palestinian brothers and sisters. We're at a turning point now. And of course, it's going to be a slow one in the Democratic Party, but some of us will be working outside the Democratic Party to make it quicker. That's why I support the BDS, not because I think it's anti-Semitic. We've got to fight anti-Semitism, anti-Jewish hatred. It goes hand in hand with every Christian civilization, and many Islamic civilization is wrong, it's unjust, but that cannot be the excuse of in any way downplaying the unbelievable misery that we see in Gaza, in West Bank, and other places. So my first question would be, would you argue for the use of the word occupation in the platform? And two, how would you respond to those who say for so long the United States has been so biased toward Israeli security and not accented the humanity of Palestinians, that to talk about even-handedness is always a version of anti-Semitism as opposed to a struggle for justice?
No, I would not support and would in fact oppose the use of the word occupation for the very reason that it undermines our common objective. And once you have borders, the issue that propels your concern regarding what you refer to as occupation will be resolved.
You mentioned unilateral actions should be avoided. Are settlements unilateral actions?
For those that focus only on settlements, you in effect undermine the whole equation that supports a negotiated two-state outcome. Settlements is one part of this very problematic story. But so is Jerusalem.
So should we leave Jerusalem out of the platform? I think that would fit your notion appropriately.
No.
That we should not negotiate or litigate any of the issues in the platform. I would agree with that.
Well, I would agree that we should not litigate the resolution of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict in terms of the democratic platform.
Except for the issues you want to litigate.
Well, no.
As we sit here and listen to the amount of homelessness and infrastructure, education needs, everything that's happening here in the United States. My concern is now we want to continue war, and that's something that I'm not a support of. How much is this going to cost us? And how many lives is that going to cost us here in the United States while we're in another country fighting?
You know, whether one agrees with Prime Minister Netanyahu or not, one point he always makes is that Israel is our one ally that never, ever has asked, and I can't imagine would ever ask, for an American to do their fighting for them. Israelis fight for themselves.
With our money.
And what they ask for is the commitment of the United States to assist their security.
I'd just like you to reflect on the irony that strikes me about our right obsession with Trump, right-wing, xenophobic, narcissistic, neo-fascist, and Trump-like figures in Israeli life, Lieberman, Ariel, Why is it that we could focus so clearly on the xenophobes here and rightly call them into question, and at times seem to be so reluctant to call into question xenophobes in other places, not just Israel, but other places as well when it comes to U.S. foreign policy? That just strikes me as something that we as a people have to come to terms with. I can put it another way, that if there were a Palestinian occupation of precious Jewish brothers and sisters, would we respond in the same way as opposed to an Israeli occupation of Palestinian brothers and sisters? And myself, believing very deeply in what Jane Austen calls constancy, moral consistency, that I want to have moral outrage in both of those cases.